super next level. We're moving into match 5 of today, but we have one more after that as well, so don't worry. It's Supreme Sunday here. Hearthstone Grandmasters for Europe. It's Swidz taking on RDU in the next one, and Swidz's back has been pushed against the wall early in Grandmasters Season 2. He needs to find a win here to avoid that dire 0-4 situation. You know, you mentioned yesterday how that relegation demon is going to loom over your shoulder the whole time if you find yourself in that spot. So for this matchup, he really needs to find the W.
Yeah, there will be 1 or 2 Grandmasters who have not quite had it dawn on them what a situation they're in right now, and it will take, you know, the grim specter of relegation looming over their shoulder.
That's what it was
the phrase. It might take that in order to suddenly wake them up that they do not want to be in that shark-infested pool of having to scrap out through Masters tours and fight for that one promotion spot back in. Like, they are at the peak right now, and I don't want to use the word fortunate to be there in the literal sense, because the vast majority of them have earned it through prize money and through point standings in the previous season. So there's no luck involved, but they are fortunate in the sense that they are in a very, very good position right now as professional Hearthstone players, and you do not want to lose that.
No, indeed you do not. And now talk about Murloc Paladin. This is now our 3rd series in a row. It's going to feature that deck in one of the lineups. Swidz has brought Murloc Paladin this week alongside Control Warrior, his Quest Shaman, and his Quest Druid as well. We're going to be kicking things off with a Warrior Mirror match. Woo! Soddle's agony over this is my joy. I love me some Warrior Mirrors.
We got away with it for so long!
Yes.
Swidz, of course, somewhat of a warrior specialist himself, and ironically, when he was trying to show himself to be a warrior specialist by bringing the class warrior in the format specialist, it did not work out particularly well for him. He switched away and went predominantly to rogue in the latter half of the season. His results improved massively after he did so.
Yep. We saw Swidz in some fancy play in the last Warrior Mirror that he played, where he was able to trick Kalento into using life total as a resource, only to deliver a massive shuffle of bombs at the end.
He was able to trick Kalento into using his life total as a resource by not including Tomb Wardens in his deck.
Well,
which Kalento then didn't notice and continued to play around for the entire game.
Yes, that was last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't forget that one.
As you mentioned, he does have them this time around. 2 Tomb Wardens are in there. Pretty standard looking list as far as Control Warrior goes these days.
Wait a minute, I just noticed something.
I did too, right as I said that.
Swidz forgot Eternium
I was
Rover.
going to say on 3, we won't say it, but yes, it's Eternium Rover. There are none of them in his deck.
I wonder if like the weapons project takes the slot for that in Swidz's mind, is like it's a source of armor, and not that there's such a thing as too much armor, but there's such a thing as diminishing returns on armor.
Yeah.
Like at a certain point, you just don't need that much health.
No.
I think that's very reasonable, but I think Eternium Rover is a absolutely busted, crazy town banana pants level card, and I cannot understand it not being in your deck.
To put it in some of the terms that I love to hear from you, it's an absolute unit.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, it is.
No, it isn't.
It stacks up with Ziliax and with Snip Snap.
Okay, sure. It can become an absolute unit. I will give you that.
Yeah, like Rocky in Rocky 4, where he goes into the wintry tundra and he works out and he becomes an absolute unit.
Where he famously walks through a field of discarded metal and it all magnetizes to him, making him restore life to people and deal more damage.
Yeah. X-Men.
Ah, yes, my favorite X-Man, Rocky.
They just get into a boxing match with Professor X and Magneto. Ziliax expended early, and I think that's a nod to the fact that this is a pure through and through Control Warrior mirror match. You don't anticipate your life total necessarily dwindling. And so the value of Ziliax, I think, for Swidz, I think is largely in fighting for tempo, given that he doesn't have a turn remover, I think that's one of his thoughts as well, is that, you know what, I like using this card early anyway. It's just a very powerful thing, so suit it up and go with it. I know I'm not going to be taking too much damage this game.
RDU seated very much into the role of aggressor now based on the hand that he has had. Armagadillo buffing up 2 Morden and Ziliax, meaning he's going to have tempo for days in the coming turns. He's also the one, unfortunately for Swidz, backing that up with the Dr. Boom as well. Having said that, this Snip Snap is a big push on Swid's side. It's a problem that RDU will need to solve before he can just commit straight back to playing tempo again himself.
Yeah, Snip Snap's a heck of a card. Just blew up an Armagadillo.
Maybe
this matchup yesterday took place between Nalgudan and ETC, where they had a lengthy battle. And Nalgudan actually got to about 80 effective health without having Dr. Boom against ETC's Dr. Boom. And at the end of the game, ETC had narrowly squeezed the game out after both players went the absolute distance and deep into fatigue through Archivist Elysiana. I'm kind of curious to see if Swidz is able to duplicate that, because we have heralded him as a warrior expert for what feels like forever now, and he certainly has demonstrated that in warrior mirror matches.
Right.
Curious to see if he can duplicate that result.
RDU, after much deliberation that turn, does just resort down to the 2 Mordens. It's just so awkward making the 7-6 Snip Snap there. It really did shut down most of what RDU needed to do. And the Ziliax with a single buff on it was only rushing for 5, so that wasn't a really attractive play to take care of the 7-6. No Shield Slam available, no real Warpath plays. Dynamatic, of course, just a bad card in the matchup generally. He's just stuck in this awkward spot where it's like, all right, I guess you just get to keep your 7-6 and I have to develop into it.
It's a good way to develop into it, though.
This place is
It's awkward breakpoints on Switz's side, too. And if he goes with a pair of flunkies here, you know, maybe the trifecta.
This place is scary.
Ooh, Hecklebot offered. Yeah, you snap that one up, you're going, come on, Elysiana!
Yep, you take your 1 in X to win. Every single
Oh, he could have done it that turn!
Every single time.
He could have tried for it that turn!
Oh, Swidz.
You can see even he's kind of thinking about it, too.
You have no idea.
Where he's like, yeah, I could have gone for it that turn, but they're not going to try.
Yeah. The percentage win rate that just evaporated into the ether that turn.
Dynamatic, I mean, it is a pretty bad card in the matchup. This particular spot, however, 10 damage.
Steady on, boy.
The smile from Swidz at that Dr. Boom.
That's what you'd like to see.
Brawl turn set up here for Swidz. Honorable mention on the Hecklebot to Omega Devastator.
Yeah, sure. If you're going to deal with it immediately, then yeah, but I think, you know, Free Yeti is still a Free Yeti, even though it's an insanely powerful card if you get to activate the Battle Cry.
15 damage from that 2 Morden.
That including this 5 or not?
This 5 would make it 15.
Okay.
1 5er.
Well, if you're RDU, how aggressive do you want to get?
I'm like 99% slamming the boom, I think.
Yeah, I am too. But I know you are a fan of bringing out the hot takes of not playing Dr. Boom on curve every now and again.
Oh, excuse me, that was when it was 7 mana and the on curve was 9 mana because you got the hero power immediately. That was my idea. Now you can't get the hero power immediately, and we've heard professional players like Just Saying from Americas talk about at length how the change from 7 to 9 mana has been pretty drastic in his experience. Swidz likely to match this here alongside the Shield Slam.
I'm so
Buckle in.
Yep. Get yourself a snack, get yourself a blanket. We're in for the long haul now.
Yeah, if you're Casey, get yourself a nap. He will fall asleep in the middle of Warrior Mirror matches and think nothing of it.
Why is this happening?
Oh!
Yeah, all right, everyone amuse yourselves, just like our spectator is doing, apparently.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Great, so worth it. Thank you, Admiral.
There is one chance you have to execute that, and it is exactly during a Warrior Mirror match. God. Do you have any idea how long I've been holding that in and how long it's been agonizing me to have that showcased? It is only amidst a battle of futility amongst two Warrior players with Dr. Boom in play do you have time to do nothing until something important happens.
Honestly, and I don't say this lightly, I think I prefer the Warrior Mirror.
Sada wants a hug.
Run! I will hold them off.
I would consider RDU with the narrowest of deck building margins, given a couple of small things. The first one that comes to my head is going to be weapons project count. There's 2 for Swidz, there's 1 for RDU. So RDU already has an additional card packed into the deck as a result of that. However, as a trade-off of that, Swidz is going to have 2 Omega Devastators. He still has that advantage magnified now because he pulled an Omega Devastator
Yeah, right.
with the Hecklebot. And so those are really the things for me to think about, is that I think RDU has to keep fighting for tempo. And I think that a lot of times he's shown that while he'll fight for tempo in this matchup, that he's valuing the prospect of having strong responses a bit more. And I don't necessarily think that's correct. So I think the fact that he has to battle for tempo might incidentally be a benefit for him, just because after watching him play so many of these games, his play style tends to be the opposite of it. And I think that playing for tempo is correct in the matchup. Like, I think it's incidentally beneficial.
So I'm going to need you to clarify what you mean by playing for tempo, because I think you can interpret that as kind of like a surface level thing of just like, you know, load up max stats, try and push damage, because I think that's the exact opposite of what you want to do in a Dr. Boom mirror. Because if you just start pushing out minions, you actually give more tempo over to your opponent because their cards become good counters to your cards.
In theory, yeah. I don't necessarily think it stacks up that way, though. Like, there's so many things to think about of like what your opponent's doing and what it means from a range perspective, that a lot of times Swidz is going to be he's going to try to be using weaker tools to handle things, but he has to think about what using a weaker tool means from RDU's prospect of responding to something. And so oftentimes you interpret that as meaning strength in some capacity, and so you yourself tend to use stronger things to fight for it. He's also just limited somewhat by the options that he's been having so far. But I think overall, battling pretty recklessly in the matchup I have found over the last like week or so has been very effective for me.
Really?
Just the damage matters. Like those.
Like, but where does the damage come from?
Eventually, you stick something. I know it sounds weird, but eventually it happens.
Okay.
It's just little amounts of chip here and there that really end up making the difference.
All right. Certainly not the reality I've found myself in.
Okay, then.
But I will never argue with you too heavily when it comes to warrior mirrors.
It's a hard thing to explain, but the TLDR is minions in play, gooder.
Okay, then.
The one thing I have found that doesn't work very well is trying to use Restless Mummy for tempo. That does not work.
Well, there's just too many like weak cards or classically weak cards in the matchup that can then just go, oh, excellent, a Restless Mummy. I can deal with that now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also Restless Mummy is just a pretty sick removal spell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said spell. It's a mummy, but it's really a spell more than a minion.
Okay, then.
Already faced with a pretty tough prospect here as well.
Is this tough? I feel like based on your philosophy that you've been trying to explain, you load up some snip snaps and you deal some damage.
It's the hero power timing is the thing.
Okay.
Like kind of in the same vein I'm talking about with, you know, minions getting in play and then being important.
Okay,
like,
then.
life total is very important. And I once forewent 7 armor here, and I deeply regretted it. About 36 turns later, it felt like. So I think if I'm gonna magnetic this turn, I'm a bit more in favor of Ziliax if I'm gonna do that.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
You chooses neither.
I think missing the Omega Devastators is potentially influencing that decision. Like, Snip Snap is going to be a valuable removal tool for him.
That is a very good point, yeah. But again, that's kind of like more my default position in the matchup. Like, the only reason I was really suggesting load up Snip Snaps and deal damage there is to kind of like try and come around to what you were saying. It's because my default position would be to just like try and use each card as the most efficient removal tool it can be in the matchup while my opponent is trying to do the same.
I think that's a good natural instinct to have, for sure. See, now that I see the Kaboom hero power, Snip Snap looking much more appealing.
Yep. Seems like RDU agrees.
Curious about the load up. I don't know what situation I really want to do this in. I guess the 2-1 is probably better. In a Warrior Mirror, it's rare you'll see the fabled 3-0.
Right. It's just ugly, especially if it's going down on a 1-1 to begin with, right? Like you just make a nice magical 10 health on one big minion against Warrior.
10 health, and they're going to conjure!
Yeah, like how is my Warrior opponent possibly going to kill this 10 health minion I just made?
They can only do that if they save the best for last. That's ridiculous.
Okay, then. Save the best for last.
Ooh, I wonder if Warpath is better here, actually.
Better than...
Yeah, I like that. So I was
what was the alternative?
So I was looking at like microbots,
Okay.
and just trade them in, but this actually gets.
It just gets them on board. Yeah. Okay. This is like this was the play that like I defaulted to. So when you said, "Oh, I wonder if it's better," I was like, "Oh, what? Where did he start?"
Well, the obvious is just you hit the hero power button every time, right?
Right.
So,
but this is still hitting the hero power every time. It's just you get to keep a bunch of 1-1s on board. You've turned your warpath into some board presence. I kind of like that.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
RDU starting to get into sticky warrior territory now, where you have to spend some cards. Well, you arguably have to start spending some cards if you don't want to start burning things off the top, but each of your tools are kind of allocated to specific responsive positions. So yeah, he just says, all right, Harrison Jones, go. It's kind of the most neutral card in my hand right now.
Yeah, you don't necessarily want to be drawing cards in the mirror, because even if you account for the Elysiana turns, like, you still can hit fatigue in those scenarios. And if that's the case, having to use your Elysiana earlier rather than later can be a big detriment. So for Swidz here, it's pretty unfortunate for the Kaboom to show up, I think, on this exact turn. At least one was clearly annoying for RDU.
Yeah. I mean, on average, it's only a couple of turns, right, before Kaboom shows up.
Hit hand, just hit play.
It's the Casey line.
Just flip over the top card of the deck. Yeah, that's the one.
Yep. Devastating number 2 for Swidz.
Yeah, and the damage for Swidz is going to mean something, but I think he needs to try to get some development online. And so I'm eyeing the safeguard. Although I have found that when you're behind, playing for aggression doesn't mean nearly as much. You do have to make more clever use of your tools. You know, as is the nature of being behind, you probably just have less stuff to work with.
Sure.
So I think that using the laser and the warpath here, and then saving the Devastator to fight back on the following turn is actually really smart, because RDU is going to go up to 9 cards with the draw and then 10 cards with the Discover a Mech. And so this is great recognition from Swidz to realize this is an opportunity for him to respond very strongly.
Yep. Just don't put anything on the board. If I don't put anything on the board, RDU's got a handful of cards that he can't react well with, and he needs to spend one of those cards this turn to avoid burning. Let alone that Omega Assembly that RDU really wants to cast at some point. For its way a Dynamatic.
Swidz now really wants the draw because he wanted to find a big taunt to match with that Armagadillo. So you can see the benefit that the life total has been on RDU's side is that Swidz, you know, he's having to scrap for these situations. He cannot afford to let any chip damage through.
Yeah, Swidz still has both Tomb Wardens remaining in his deck, which, yeah, that shield block starts to become very understandable. Having just drawn Armagadillo and having 2 Tomb Wardens in 8 cards remaining at that point.
Yeah, and now he's starting to account for hand space as well. Should I play this weapons project in case I draw a Mega Assembly? In case I flip over, Discover a Mech. Little warrior nuances, they come like second nature to Swidz.
I love that fuse thing.
Well, good news RDU, he's got a 3/4 he's allowed to attack with this turn. That is a novelty in a warrior mirror.
Swidz though, same recognition. RDU's got to play something.
Yep.
Okay, then.
This is a situation that I was getting at in kind of response to your breakdown. Is like, this is what it always feels like in a warrior mirror. It's like, well, if I play cards, that makes my opponent's cards better, and you get stuck in that kind of infinite feedback loop. But it does seem like Swidz is just manipulating the situation a little bit better right now in his favor.
I think that advantage goes to the defender, right? Like of manipulating the hand space and forcing plays.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
What are you doing? It's like
pouring water? Is that what that gesture was?
Okay, in my head it was examining
This
different
would be a
glasses
good
of water
time
and
for a
choosing the
master
best one to drink from.
He's actually just got one of those setups of like 55 different water glasses that play a tune as you walk past and run your finger over the rims of all of them.
Well, yeah, the League of Explorers theme.
Yeah, oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Life expenditure? Whoa! Whoa! He has gone to great lengths to try and manipulate this hand size thing for RDU.
I mean, that's what it's all about, right? He doesn't want to use an Omega Devastator there because that would leave an Omega Devastator on the board for RDU to react with. I guess the only other question is using the Shield Slam there instead of taking 8.
Wants the Shield Slam with the Elysiana.
Yep. Yeah, no, that is one of the biggest tempo swings that you can have in the matchup. Somewhat fitting that it comes down on like the very end of the matchup, but it is huge to be able to Elysiana and Shield Slam your opponent's Elysiana. Or any other big minion that happens to be on the board to relieve some pressure.
I'm gonna write this down so I don't forget about it. Because that moment right there.
Okay, then.
Whether it's good or bad for Swidz, I don't know yet. But that moment was a game changer.
Did you just write down took 8?
I wrote down 8 damage.
Okay, yeah, close enough.
Because I remember what that means. And now RDU trying to do the same back to Swidz, but making hand size at the same time. Play the weak stuff.
And you can see now, like, that is a victory for Swidz. Like, instead of RDU playing that Plague of Wrath in any situation and killing a minion with it, he just had to throw it away because Swidz has engineered that situation. Now, he finds himself finally in that 10-card spot. But he has a 2-1 and a 1-1 to react to if he wants it.
Weapons Project to throw away.
Mecharoo to throw away. Clears the board.
Got a lot of stuff to throw away.
When a Mecharoo clears the board.
And I guess this helps clarify my point from earlier then.
Go on.
You think about how many tools that players have to just simply throw away. Like, if you have enough threats, eventually just one of them sticks.
No, I still don't agree with you. I feel like
1v1 me.
I feel like demonstrating how many resources a player has to throw away indicates that it's much, much harder for you to have a minion that sticks because they have so many spare resources that they don't end up using.
Oh, I didn't say it was easy.
Okay.
I said eventually it happens.
All right. All right.
It's incredibly difficult.
Again, despite it being massively against my nature, I'm trying not to argue with you because I know you know best in Warrior Mirrors.
Between the two of us.
Yes. Yeah, no, correct. Right, that is an important clarification.
What's your
This
favorite
would
color?
be a good
Purple.
time for a
No,
man
between
to
blue and
play.
red. Go.
Easy blue.
Very limited options in that regard. Just looking at the kaboom and I'm looking at the 1-1s.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Looking at RDU just having 10 cards in his hand every damn turn. Just looking at RDU's face, wanting to be able to play some Hearthstone cards.
Does he still have a rush in his deck? Still have 2 rushes in his deck?
Yep.
Oh.
2 Restless Mummies.
That's what. So he's just going to go for the burn. So I guess that's something else important to talk about too is the relevant cards from RDU. There's a Frightened Flunky, which is pretty relevant.
Frightened Flunky, double Restless Mummy.
And a Shield Block? No, he's cut to 1 copy of Shield Block.
Weapons Project.
Weapons Project. So his deck is actually fairly irrelevant, I think, in that regard. So I think he is free to burn cards here. And that actually is a turnaround now on Swidz. You know, the outcome for RDU he recognized, I think, very well here. He literally doesn't have to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's very leveled up warrior play from RDU. I've watched his stream a lot, and I've watched him practice his matchup a lot, and obviously in Grandmasters last season, he played it quite a bit. I had a lot of talking points for RDU, and he has clearly done his homework.
Meanwhile, Swidz's deck still packed full of Tomb Wardens, which he is very interested in drawing.
Reactor core online.
Ooh, 6 from the laser. Breathing room now on the Town Crier as well.
Yep. Both Restless Mummies gone, so you can freely play that without burning a card. Respect to taking 4. I guess respect to taking 4+ the magnetic base that it does function as. And there you go, Town Crier. Finally, not wanting to draw a card with it for so long. is now able to get it out of his hand.
Yeah, doesn't use the Omega Assembly here because he doesn't want one of those disaster scenarios where you're stuck with expensive mechs or good mechs and then 10 cards in hand yet again. But kind of going back to the point, I mean, he's not drawing anything relevant. I think I would have liked to see it unlocked.
Swidz decides he wants to try and bomb RDU now. There's always the debate, do you do it now, do you do it after Elysiana? How long do you wait? Might seem like a minor factor, but that 5 damage going off can be a big difference. But it can also be a big difference if RDU doesn't draw it and then decides that he wants to track over the deck, and then that pushes him that card further ahead in the Elysiana counter. All of these things start to add up.
Fill up the Omega Assembly as well. Just waiting it out.
That is true, yeah.
Use it.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Yeah, Swidz having a tough one here. Looks weird, but you need hand space.
2 1-2s in a brawl. Come on, Hearthstone.
Just Hearthstone's fault that
Yeah.
brawls.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Gee whiz, Hearthstone.
Okay,
Thanks,
then.
Does that even work in there yet?
Just getting him in early.
Korra going to be one of the recent additions to the final design team.
Yep.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
Is this why I enjoy watching chess?
I love that
I just
fuse
like watching
thing.
their faces think.
Makes sense to me.
Nothing.
I'm almost out of cards.
Ooh, that's an Armageddillo turn.
Swidz has been waiting for this all game. Those Tomb Wardens have been buried, and he has spent several turns now, kind of reversal of fortunes, as RDU has kind of come to the realization, yeah, I don't really need these last few cards in my deck. I'm happy to sit here and burn. It's
Okay,
been
then.
Swidz that's been forced to play out a couple of cards, throwing away his Brawl, throwing away his Town Crier, so on and so forth, because he's the one that's needed the last couple of cards in his deck, because they were Tomb Wardens. He had the Armageddillo in his hand.
To use face to the bomb.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's a look of like fear, confusion, hope.
Womp womp.
Yeah, he draws it.
That's it. I'm out of cards.
5 damage. 5 damage can be very relevant. And honestly, of all the cards in his deck, that Frightened Flunky, if he was going to draw one of them and burn all the rest, that might have just been the one he wanted.
So I believe he took Dynamatic on the first one. Smart, because we're coming up on Elysiana stuff.
Yeah, Dynamatic a lot better post Elysiana than it is in the regular mech-filled deck.
Golly, the Shield Slam was so tempting, though. All right, I'm going to be curious about this one, because I think there's been options across the board, except for on this particular pick.
Yeah.
Hey, look, it's us there on the right.
Hey.
Oh, I love that fuse thing.
Dynamatic, Heavy Metal, Boom Reaver, Darius, Announcer.
That's it. I'm out of cards.
And now you see the Shield Slam tempo that Swidz has saved for so very long. On the take 8 turn, Admirable is so curious about Wrench Caliber.
High Inquisitor White Mane. That one, that's an innocuous looking card, but I love that card in general.
Dimensional Ripper is a big boy, though.
If this was towards
This
the
would
end
be
of
a
the
good
pick
time
and you
for
knew
a
what was coming
master
up,
plan.
but then stuff like this happens when I take Dimensional Ripper.
Yeah, it's definitely like a payoff card for sure.
Well, the Big Game Hunter's not too bad.
I would have taken the BGH there, I think.
All right, I'll be curious to see how this matches up. BGH, it actually seems like it could be pretty important versus RDU this game. So we'll get a look at this Elysiana as well. Wrench, Security Rover, Arena Fanatic, Big Game Hunter, Heavy Metal.
Both players with a heavy metal, or 2 heavy metals in their deck now, which means they're both going to be very, very interested in scrapping for all these points of armor. Oh, the Elysiana winning off that 3-minion brawl as well.
That will prompt the Dynomatic.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Mega Devastator.
Mega Devastator, yeah. And that's kind of rough for RDU because that's 2 big removal resources now that he's basically just had to throw into that one Elysiana.
All right, so I'm seeing this stack up pretty darn well for both of them. Swidz once again has the surprise factor of the Wrench Calibers, which can come in big towards the end of the game.
Yep.
He's got BGH to help fight against the heavy metals and
the Boom Reavers.
The Boom Reavers from RDU side. He's got his own heavy metal to develop.
He's also just got 2 buff, 2 more in his hand already. I think this one is firmly in Swidz's camp from where I'm sat.
And the issue RDU's having right now is that his hand is being overloaded into his Discover a Mech turns, and that missing a mech right now is like we're getting down to the clutch time, and your hand feels weak.
Yep. Even though both players also, even on deck count, RDU is the one drawing first, which is another disadvantage on his side.
Yeah, so you kind of look at how crucial it was for him to hold on to Town Crier the whole game and not pull out that extra card. Like, he'd be 2 cards deeper right now.
Okay, then.
It's so weird resetting like all the way back to full-on Control Warrior mirrors when we've been seeing like predominantly Bomb Warrior mirrors for so long, where like outright fatigue wasn't really that much of a factor.
Are you okay? Conjure Barrage. It's super weird, but it works at the end.
Really? Okay.
Because both you run out of stuff eventually.
Yeah.
And then whoever was ahead on damage at the end wins the fatigue race. I've won 2 games alone with Conjure Mirage. Like, it's so strange and bizarre, and it's a dead card and it's bad. And I get that he needs value right now, but I think he can get there. Like, I think you can fight through the pain and land on that. It's a super fringe thing.
Okay. So Swidz will know here. Like, Swidz does have the opportunity to tempo out super hard if he wants to this turn, but he knows that there is still a brawl remaining from RDU's side.
Yeah, I think with a little bit more info is kind of where Swidz is hunting for before he makes a giant push. Once he starts to see RDU's Elysiana develop more and he knows what's there, I think that's really when he gets the insight of, I can push through a brawl and then develop afterwards and know that RDU isn't snagging the tempo back.
Okay. I would be very surprised to see that Omega Devastator this turn, though, which Swidz did just pick up momentarily. That is a key, like, tempo swing resource now in the hyper late game that he doesn't just want to throw out into a brawl.
Yeah, you throw out the weak stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
This is annoying.
Much more on board with this.
It prompts RDU to still want to respond, and you connect for 10 damage. So think about the timing of the connections as well. RDU's 2 more mattered early. They really did. But his back is against the wall, and his hand is clunky. And he needs something weak to live on Swidz's side of the board. I'm thinking that 2-3 taunt.
Because RDU has been behind since the Elysiana, he's now the one that potentially has some dead heavy metals in his deck because of the armor total.
Yep.
Swidz rubs his hands together.
He knows.
Good boy, 5-8.
You're good.
Oh! Oh my goodness!
Crush the enemy! Defend Gilneas!
Why you gotta kick a man when he's down? Come on, Swidz!
I love it. Give me more BM.
Yes, I want more of it too.
Inject the BM directly into my veins.
That's how you know a true Warrior fan. You see a second brawl and you're like, woo, baby. If only I could have adjusted that talent towards something useful and good for the world. Oh, come on.
Well, jeez. Just dies to war. Unacceptable. Blast Shield's super important for RDU, or he's just going to have, like I said, a couple of completely dead cards in his deck.
Dies to Dynamatic as well. It just leaves your hand stranded. What choice you got?
Despair. Destruction.
Alright, yeah. Big pull for RDU.
Yeah, I think he needed to forego the armor this turn, and you can see it pain him to do it, but...
I mean, isn't the Plague of Wrath still just better?
Yes, but I'm thinking about the future Boom Reavers as well.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Yeah, you kind of want to rock it off with tempo from Swidz's spot, but he still knows there's a Warpath left.
Yeah.
And that's really the issue. If that Warpath wasn't there, I think this would be like a Devastator VGH giddy up kind of play.
Oh, well, okay. Yeah, I mean, I can see it, but I'd also argue that, like, Swidz probably, like, as he's starting to see more and more of the deck revealed, he's starting to know that he can beat the deck, so he doesn't actually need to push for tempo because he's in, like, the commanding position anyway.
Yeah, that's a true story as well. He's pushing for tempo. He's not hitting armor. The thing about it is, once you have the information, there's two different routes to victory, right? It's the win via damage or win via attrition.
Right.
And if you can identify both of those and find winning lines, I mean, that's just having your cake and eating it too.
Yeah, but I think, the bottom line of both of those routes is that he feels secure. He's starting to get like a solved position in this game where he understands what's going on, and because of that, he's now stopped just thinking, okay, how does this one card interact with this one card? How do I line everything up? He's now actually like seeing the matrix, the line towards the end of the game, and actually setting up the 2, 3, 4 turn sequence that just finishes the job. Beryllium Nullifier. Something I wanted to shout out when I said immediately, well, Plague of Wrath is still better, right? It's something that I have found when I do subject myself to Warrior Mirrors, is that Plague of Wrath being an insurance policy, I guess, against a huge Beryllium Nullifier coming back the other way, which is otherwise almost impossible to deal with for a warrior, can actually be a big deal if you're looking to, like, tick final checkboxes in ways that you might lose the game.
Yeah.
I think it is something that you can hold on to and plan for that eventuality.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
I think Plague of Wrath is sick. Do you want my opinion? I think it's better than Brawl.
Really?
I've tried to find ways you can cut Brawl some of that. That's the thing about it, is Plague of Wrath is situational, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Brawl's just such a universal panic button.
That's the thing. It's just so generically powerful that Brawl's probably better, but I prefer Plague.
You want Plague of Wrath to be better.
I prefer it. Yeah. I feel like I play better with Plague of Wrath than I do with Brawl. I feel like with Brawl, I just like, I use it. I think RDU needs to...
well, that's... I mean, either way, it was just ugly because Microbots was up on the other side.
Yeah, I guess you do take 10 that way.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So he's just fighting from behind.
Yeah, I like it RDU's way. I don't think either of them are good, but I think this is slightly better.
Look at that Beryllium Nullifier. So good. That 8 damage that Swidz spent in the middle of the game, it just changed everything.
Yep. He saved himself a shield slam, which he used to bank enormous tempo with the Elysiana, an Elysiana which RDU then brawled, and the Elysiana survived, costing RDU another Omega Devastator. And it didn't cost him that Omega Devastator because he still has it in hand. That was his other option, not to take 8 that turn. But if he'd have used the Omega Devastator instead, he basically would have opened up RDU's whole hand to be far less awkward for the rest of the game from that point. So it is, as you called out, it could have potentially been a huge turn. So counterintuitive to just take 8 there in that position of what we've learned over time about warrior mirrors and health totals and so on. Pretty strong call, I think, from Swidz, just to take the damage in that spot.
Yeah, it was quite beautiful. It took a long time to see that beauty, but the Grand Canyon wasn't made overnight. It took over 100 years for the Grand Canyon to form.
Is that all?
It's a long time.
I guess in the grand scale of the fact your country's like 12 years old, then yeah, I guess that's...
Okay, then.
America's a lot older than that.
You're 12, by the way. I'm pretty sure on that one.
How old is the Grand Canyon? Let me Google that.
All right, go ahead. I'm curious.
Oh, it is older than that. We're both right.
This would be a
It's
good
over
time for a
100 million
master
years for it to
plan.
form.
That sounds more accurate.
Yeah.
That does not sound right.
It's technically correct.
I mean, yeah, the statement over 100 years was factually accurate, but like I feel it didn't correctly represent the scale that you were going for. Two more charges of Wrench Caliber for RDU to deal with this game, and he's all out of weapon removal to do so.
He's not dealing with anything.
He's not.
Well, he's going to be dealing with game 2.
He is going to be dealing with the depression that comes from losing this game, and that is about it.
RDU had Swidz in the first half, not going to lie.
There it is, right on cue. RDU says, yeah, all right, you got me. There's no way I'm beating all this stuff. I think Swidz found himself probably a stronger Elysiana at the end of the game, but he did engineer himself into a position where, even with all things being equal, he probably would have been able to push advantage and stay ahead because of how he engineered that mid-game. You know, I called it out at the time. It said it did feel like Swidz is creating that awkward feeling a little bit better than RDU was, and then you lasered in on that one turn with the 8 damage where he just sacrificed a little bit of health, which just ended up not mattering at all to get the payoff in terms of tempo later on in the game.
Yeah, it looked a little bit weird, but he did start to notice he was amassing armor total, and I think that's where he recognized that opportunity. He was like, wait a second here. I can expend this 8 life, save this shield slam, and I'm going to have the armor total anyway. RDU has stopped the pressure.
Yeah.
Like, I've staved it off. It's done.
Yeah.
Just beautiful recognition.
Not much more to add to it. Warrior mirrors are a strange and nebulous beast, and they do peak into a lovely little crescendo at the end, to say the least.
I gotta calm myself down. It's just too beautiful.
Yeah, and hot flushes.
I love it. It's like painting the Sistine Chapel. Takes time.
With a toothpick.
It takes time, but
Yeah.
it would be beautiful.
Yeah.
We're going to a break. When we come back, we're going to be jumping into game number 2 of Swidz versus RDU. Swidz Warrior. It's out of contention now. It's already won a game. So stick around.
Well met, friend. Ooh. Let's get this over with. I win! Oh, what an amazing game! Oh, well played!
Here's to the winner.
My name is Casper. My alias is Hunter Ace. My username actually goes way, way back. I didn't actually come up with it myself. My father is like somewhat of a gamer and he had like his own gaming stuff. But what I did was I just stole one of his tags and used it for myself.
So Hunter is really your dad?
Well, not anymore. Right now I reached like my ultimate goal for this year. We happened to win the World Championship and that was like the biggest thing, so I'm like still extremely happy about that. I think that the Grandmaster program provides an exciting opportunity to be able to play like high competition Hearthstone every week. Only competing against the EU players to start with is going to be a very difficult job and it's going to be super hard to be like one of the standout performers and then qualify to the global finals. I would have to stay at my best to be able to qualify.
My name is Tom Val, my handle is Viper. My username is just one of those boring stories where it's a 12, 13-year-old kid makes his first WoW account basically. You gotta pick a username, taken. Is this Viper taken? Oh, Viper's possible, nice, okay, whatever. It's a generic name, it's fine. And then I just stick to it. Being Grandmasters means that I'm one of the top 16 players in Europe basically, right? Which is really worth a lot for me because I always want to be the best, I always want to be competitive, I always want to do well. That's just who I am. I always try to be open-minded. I try to like test whatever decks are good. January in 2016 it was, I think. I had almost 3K games in a month, just playing Aggro Shaman and Miracle. I think I've also played an unhealthy amount of J Druid and the Dragon Combo Priest after that. I just love those powerful decks, I guess. Being second at Worlds, it's such a crazy feeling and I'm not sure if I really realize it at this point. Now I'm just looking forward to Grandmasters, I'm looking forward to playing well. I want to play on the big stage, I'm really looking forward to that.
It's Hearthstone Grandmasters for Europe, and we are amidst our 5th match here of Supreme Sunday. We got to look at Viper there, who's going to be battling against Hunter Ace in our 6th match of the day, a replay of that World Championship final. Right now, we're getting to game number 2. I'm Nathan, that's Admiral Zamora, joined by Simon Sottle Welch. And Sottle, whew, things are about to speed up a bit now because the Warrior Mirrors are done for this series.
They are. We are now going to get a good old fight for tempo, or at least a big spike of aggression on one side, trying to shut down a slow start on the other, because I believe we're going to have Rogue versus Druid this time around, and it's going to be all about trying to generate that early start, that big pressure for the Rogue. This is one of the matchups that people have brought Rogue to this week of Grandmasters looking to really take advantage of, so they can build those big early board states, they can push some damage, they can have tempo swings with saps and other efficient removal tools in the mid game and just keep that damage going. We haven't actually really seen it materialize that much. I'm not sure if we've even seen the matchup be played out on stream this week.
That's the thing we haven't seen. We haven't seen the matchup.
Right, no, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, it's not saying it's failed to happen. It's like the anomaly we've had of like Warrior beating Druid over and over again. It's not like that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just we haven't seen the matchup take place. The players who've brought Rogue just haven't been able to line up this situation for themselves.
Yeah, if you caught the match with Psycho earlier, RDU is playing the exact same list. If you're curious about the lists, you can always visit playhearthstone.com/esports and check out all of the lists across all Grandmasters, as well as the schedule and all the stuff that has to do with it. For Swidz, we do need to talk about his list a little bit because his does vary pretty widely from the rest of the field. He's included 2 copies of Tending Tauren. He's only got 1 copy of Swipe.
Tendies!
And he's got 2 copies of Power of the Wild that are built into the deck. We didn't see this work for him in the last series that he got to play the Druid in, but I am curious about how it lines up. Tending Tauren is a very weirdly statted card in this deck at 6 mana, because 6 mana, you want to mix it with 4 mana stuff. We have less 4 mana stuff in the deck now. Take out a Swipe.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Very good point. You do have a couple of innovates that you want to get use out of, which can bridge some gaps there with your awkward mana turns, but they also...
Turn.
I mean, yeah, I was about to say they are also very useful in making things happen in the early game to be able to actually develop, to fight for tempo, in this case, draw some cards with Crystal Merchant.
His thinking is exactly backstab an SI7 agent.
Backstab, yeah, backstab Miscreant as well. Activates by playing a minion.
That's an interesting thought. Would you play a 2-mana 1/4 that drew 2 cards if your opponent got to Miscreant?
That drew 2 cards. Right, yeah, it would draw. Well, yes.
It's going to draw next turn as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. That's a good way of looking at it. I guess my answer to that question is yes. Yes, I would.
Okay, I would do. No Vendetta.
God, I love tendies. I don't know why. I'm just drawn to this card. I don't know why. It just gets me hyped.
Do you get a lot of chicken tenders while you're here?
While I'm here?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, I won't ask the follow-up question then.
What was the follow-up question?
Well, where's your favorite tenders from?
I see.
Yeah.
No, even at a chicken place, I generally won't get tendies. Just weird. It just doesn't make any sense why I love this card so much. I just do.
Fair enough.
Yeah. No explanation. No follow-up. Just a complete non sequitur. I just enjoy that card.
Oh, the card tendies.
Yeah.
Because it's tending torrent.
Yeah.
Oh. I was just talking about chicken tenders.
Oh, I mean, yeah, they are pretty sweet, I will admit.
Time waits for no one.
You must have got really confused considering I said I really like tendies and then started telling you how I never order tendies.
Yeah, I was getting like concerned almost. I'm like, are you sure you like them? Like,
It's like, am I going senile? I think that's what he said.
it's like being like, I love Priest. It's one of my favorite decks. Oh, what was the last Priest deck you played? Oh, about 4 years ago.
I never played Priest.
Yeah. I actually like the choice to buff here. I think it makes it, you know, a little bit tougher for RDU. You know, he's almost forced to use a backstab in an instance like this. If he's got one, doesn't just offer the poke and trade instantaneously. Something else has to be done.
Right. Yeah, kind of like it too.
Sets up a hero power on the following turn to be able to wipe out the Blink Fox after a backstab attack. This is a really, really tiny thing that changed a lot.
Right. And I know Power of the Wild has been a questionable card for several people about whether it belongs in the deck. Swidz, of course, like we've mentioned, off the wall, Tending Torrent's in there, Power of the Wild is in there. Very, very different.
Plot twist.
Admirable, I know you love that deck, but this is not a Warlock matchup. There's no plot twists here.
Well, he just didn't kill the Crystal Merchant. I find that curious. He's just going to slam the Mountain Giant next turn.
I think that's the reason why, right? What? If he plays a backstab here, it costs him that Mountain Giant, which will cost exactly 5 next turn. So he takes 3 damage now, and he takes the big boy Mountain Giant. I think it was Bunny Hopper earlier that says, you know, so if you just play a big minion early against Druid, they're just like, oh, well, where's my Naturalize?
Yeah. The answer is in Wild.
Yeah. I always wonder about Naturalize, like whether we should have been playing that card way earlier than we actually did start playing it. Admirable deep in thought right now.
No, I'm trying to reserve it because the answer is yes and no. The reason we didn't play it at the start was because combo Druid was the thing, and giving them extra cards was like the most dangerous thing in the world.
So it would have just been specifically bad in the mirror, you're saying?
Oh, it would have been horrendously bad in the mirror, and that was, you know, honestly, it was one of the most important matchups.
Would it though? Like, if they Druid of the Clawed and you just naturalized and played a Druid of the Claw in response, like,
yeah,
do they come back from that?
Yeah, because they have Black Knight with his core deck.
I guess true. Yeah, we can play Black Knight.
That deck was a battle of damage. That's what it really was.
Okay.
And the damage and finding the cards. Because I think, if you want my opinion, the deck beat Handlock anyway. You had 3-cost BGH.
Yeah, definitely be Handlock.
Yeah.
I don't know why that.
So
you phrased that as even like a controversial.
What do you naturalize for then?
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, yeah, I see where you're going with it.
And that's a big turn for Swidz, forced to use the Oasis Surger, not as tempo, but just simply as an answer. RDU building up to have the high spare and Togwaggle ready. It's going to prompt more response from Swidz. And that 1-2, it's not a very good card to simply include in most of the rogue decks, but when it's just sitting there, it certainly feels a lot more annoying.
Yeah.
Play a combo card, get a combo card.
Having said all that, Swidz has just about stabilized in terms of immediate pressure. You mentioned that there is, the hits do keep on coming for RDU from here. Leaves up the Lackey as well. So what did he kill on the previous turn? He killed the 1-2 combo thing. What did the other attack go into?
Evil Miscreant.
Okay.
He killed the health efficiency.
Yep.
I wasn't sold on it. Like, you have a pair of 5/5s in play. Like, how big deal is a 1/4?
Right.
But, you know, you think about Shadow Step and stuff like that, too.
Marginal. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, that's where my head's at, too. I'm not going to nitpick it. It did cost him here, but I see it both ways. Yeah. This pressure plate that RDU found is just not getting utilized. It might here with the Worthy Expedition. I think Swidz was testing to try to figure out what this was and has probably narrowed it down as the result of the Tending Torn first to try to get a weak minion picked off, and Oasis Surger offered as well. It's the payoff.
Yeah, I guess lucky on the pressure plate as well. Killing the smallest minion. That is a much needed vendetta for RDU in this position, because he is in very real danger of starting to fall behind on tempo if he does not do something powerful very soon.
Yeah, and so I'm looking at this Wonder Swan to come in big, and some of the big results I'm seeing are Spear of the Shark, Mountain Giant, and perhaps like a
Snip Snap.
It's okay. I mean,
it's pretty good.
I was trying to pick the most important battle cry, and the High Sparen's obviously already gone.
Yeah.
So like Edwin Van Cleef, probably the most important card after that.
Yeah, sure. Edwin would have been the nuts, of course. 0 mana Snip Snap, giving you a 4 Snip Snap turn availability at some point. It's pretty strong, especially with Ziliax still in hand.
Yeah, takes a while to come to fruition is all.
Yeah. Can he buy time? Just by playing more aggressively for a turn or two, just to set up that Snip Snap as extra aggression coming in behind it.
He's got a clear here.
This guy's toast.
Snip Snap with tempo. I don't mind it.
Okay. Yeah, it does give him the ability to get some extra tempo with Ziliax on the following turn as well, just to have the mech in play now.
You know, you're so interested in using the Burglar next turn, right? Set up to defend yourself as hard as you can.
Just Oasis Surges all the way down for Swidz. Already 2 been played. 1 natural on the Floop. Wait, am I seeing that right? Is this Zephyrus active?
Why has it been active and I just didn't realize it?
With 14 cards
Because he's only
remaining?
got 1 swipe. He's got 1 swipe, 1 Ferocious Howl.
With 14 cards remaining.
He's got 11 duplicates in the deck. Like, total from the start. Wow, that's kind of unbelievable, actually.
Okay.
That's so low chance.
Yeah.
Like, I get upset when I play against the Reno decks of yore. They had like 2 duplicates in attack at this point.
Right. Shadow Step is a lot of value. There's also a lot of damage with that life drink.
Discover a copy of a minion in your opponent's deck. I mean, that could... Yeah, I'm thinking of pretty specifically Zephyrus when you take that option.
Sure.
RDU will be upset when he finds out that's on the far left.
And has a yellow border around it.
The good news for RDU is that he probably, unless he gets played the next couple turns, he's not going to notice when it was active.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
Steps the shark here. I like this. I was considering, like, you know, Shadow Step here on Burglar or Shadow Step on Life Drinker, kind of markedly different game plans. But having stepping the shark itself and having that available for kind of either plan later on, if you do pick up more value generation to go with it, does seem to make the most sense.
Oh, Swidz!
I mean, I can't believe you can't. Like, if it did go face, you couldn't fault it.
How
right?
does he even figure that out?
You could not fault it if it went face there. It just would have so happened to have been devastating against the Flame Strike.
I'm pretty sure it's just supposed to go face.
I mean, the idea is that you just get the 4 back immediately, right? Because you're protecting a 4/4 on the boards.
Sort of, but you missed 3 this turn as well, so you would have clocked for 6 total. I guess the step on the shark maybe concerns you a bit.
Sure.
Also, they got a random spell, so that could be a number of things. Like,
yeah, I
like
mean,
Pharaoh's Blessing or something.
Yeah, random garbage always just like scrambles the thinking a lot. Some players will just default to trade safe. Not necessarily always true.
I want to know what everyone else would
here.
have done. I want to know what everyone in chat would have done. Would they have gone face or would they have traded? That's what I want to know.
Because chat is always 100% honest about these situations.
It's just I wanted. You only have 2 options.
Yeah.
One person. Well, actually, you could just not attack as well. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
shut it.
Technically true. If there was a guy who said that, respect to that guy.
Respect to me? I'm literally the one who just said.
No, you didn't. That wasn't your voice. Shut up.
That's true. We have a third person just chilling here. You never see him.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's not so hidden anymore. It's just a 6/6 taunt.
Heal did go face instead of on the Scenarios.
Yeah, he really wanted Zephyrus. I think it's active.
For RDU? Good question.
He hasn't drawn an evil cable. No, it's not.
Doesn't have
close.
a Pharaoh cat. He doesn't have an evil cable rat. No. Nowhere near.
He has taken so much damage.
Behold, jewels of the sound.
5, 10, 15, plus 9 from Bloodlust. Lethal with Zephyrus. Right?
15 plus 9 equals 24. And that's what he's counting right now. He's counting up everything. He's like, would it offer me anything else stupid here, though?
The Earth Mother was busy.
He's found a different way of doing it, apparently.
Wind Fury.
Wind Fury? Yeah, fair enough. Doesn't matter which way you go about it, as long as you see a lethal and execute it with the Zephyrus, and as long as Zephyrus backs you up, as long as he doesn't take that smack talk from Bunny Hopper the other day to heart and not give it to you out of spite, then as long as you execute, you're in a good spot, and Swidz is now in a good spot. And much needed victory in terms of his overall score this season.
Yes, breathing room, so to speak. He's still got some work to do, but that now brings him up to a 1-3 record. Dropped his first 3 matches that were here, and gets the job done finally in this one. And honestly, that Warrior Mirror match was, I think, a major advantage to Swidz. Like, I said something about the deck lists, which is just nonsense at the end of the day. Swidz is extremely good at Warrior Mirror matches, and I am never picking anyone in a Warrior Mirror match except Swidz ever again.
Wow, okay. Also, first victory in Grandmasters as a whole over RDU. They were in the same division previous season. RDU picked up both wins in the head-to-head. So Swidz now pulls that back to a 1-2 record in match score.
Indeed. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can bring in the coming weeks. But for now, we have an interview with Swidz. Swidz, can you hear us?
Yes, perfectly.
Congratulations on your win here. This was an important one for you. This is our first time getting to talk to you. So my first question for you is about the changes from Season 1 of Grandmasters to Season 2 of Grandmasters. What have you liked and what have you disliked?
I really like to play more class in one best of 3. And yeah, I like to protect my my base deck too. And yeah, I don't specialist. I don't really. It's always the same thing. Specialist. This format is new and it's really cool to play actually. But there is some bad, not only good things in this new format. There is some bad things, but anyway, all format have bad things and good things. But I like this format actually.
Good. I want to ask you about your Druid deck. You've built it slightly differently to other players, Tending Tauren being in there. You just talk to me about your build of Druid and why you've chosen some of the cards that you did.
Yeah, I like the 6-drop. I don't remember the name, but yeah, it's really strong. In the mirror, you can pressure after I complete the quest. You just have the board easily. You clean, so the terrain is really good when you have the board. Make a lot of pressure, and it's one of the best cards in this deck. So it's good to play it.
Okay.
And I want to ask you also about last week with deck building. You didn't have Tomb Warden in your warrior deck. Was that intentional or unintentional?
Yes, it was intentional.
Yep.
But yeah, it was a bit stupid to don't play it because I wanted to beat Hunter, but the 3/6 help a lot, and I didn't bring the 3/6, the taunt minion. It was a bit bad to me to not bring it, but I didn't add a lot of time to submit because I was at Seoul and I didn't add many time to prepare my lineup last week.
All right, well, Swidz, it's always fantastic to hear from you. I enjoy watching your warrior play. It is fantastic, and I am never picking anyone to beat you in a warrior mirror match ever again. Congratulations on your win here today, and I'm looking forward to seeing you play next week.
Congrats. Well played.
So.
Tending Tauren, one of the best cards in the deck.
I know. Sorry, that just did really make me laugh. It was a bit stupid. just in, like the thought while he searched for the right word in English. It's like, yeah, it's stupid.
Yeah,
okay.
It was. Our Megadillo and Tomb Warden are sick.
No.
You include them in there.